His first Sweet 16 appearance in 30 seasons as a Division I head coach. You could see on his face the joy and pride he's taking in this journey. As this Sweet 16 matchup is underway between USC and Kansas State. Here's Marshall. Smith looking inside, will take, can't hit. Rebound collected by Ray and Marshall on the offensive glass. Putback won't go.
Expect them to try to get Kiki Iriafen involved as soon as possible.
Fake to the corner. Smith cans the three. And the freshman gets USC on the board first.
K-State was in a zone defense for that under out of bounds, and all it took was the little ball fake for Smith to get the space to get the shot up.
Sundell gets denied, and at last hits Sundell.
Her defender on her back for much of that possession, and Kansas State typically gets her the basketball when she does.
Two defenders come, and Lee and Sundell able to combine on the stop. Out of bounds, stays with Kansas State. And he said, hey, get me all the non-JuJu clips you can get me of USC and how they look. And he said, Coach, this is going to be the quickest assignment you've ever given me because there's just not that many clips.
110, 110, yes. That's not very many.
It was something that Lindsay Gottlieb joked to us about as well. Smith dives inside in a standout performance. Good start here for USC, a 5-0 lead, and a foul, no, a travel.
One thing that USC has is experience defending a big. They went against Lauren Betts 3 times in the regular season, 6-7, so plenty of experience going against a player of Lee's size.
USC got 28% of their points from freshmen this year, tops amongst the 1 seed. Marshall sinks the first. In this tournament, she's averaged 5.5 a game.
She could be a menace defensively.
7-0 lead, though. Winner of this one will face Connecticut on Monday night, 9 Eastern on ESPN. Here's Sundell, loose dribble. Bounces inside. Layup is good for Taylor. First bucket of the game for the Wildcats. Heckle off, and Lee secures the glass. 7-2 start for USC, a low-scoring quarter thus far. One of the things Lindsay Gottlieb talked to us about as well is you see how poor the shooting numbers are for both teams early. She said, you know, we may be kind of harder to scout because JuJu's involved in so much as Glenn drops it in.
The defensive game plan is trying to limit her and what she does with the ball in her hands.
Iriafen gets rejected by Lee. Here comes Sundell, flick ahead, Glenn lays it in. I want to make sure you are pulling, and shot at 44% from 3 this year, significantly upped her attempts.
He remembered the exact date in July where it finally happened, where she got a 3 block.
July 15th. Smith has 7 in this first. Lee, the all-time leading scorer and rebounder in school history, can't hit.
Okunwafu did a good job, though, of pushing Lee off of the block, making it a tougher shot to finish.
Okunwafu sets the screen. Samuels the dish. Smith can't bank it in, but the tip is 7 years at Kansas State and has dealt with all kinds of injuries throughout. It's the only way you can accumulate 7 years at a school.
We saw her get an early sub. The pace of the game will dictate how frequently she has to come out.
Walker buries the 3. Told her she needed to respond in practice as well, and she has. And that was not normal for her, as Von Olhoffen can hit the 3. This is a player who's playing 15 to 17 minutes a game. To not play in that Big Ten championship was significant, but she has, as you said, responded beautifully. Bounce it inside. There's Heckle diving on the floor. Layup won't go for Kennedy Taylor. Here comes Kennedy Smith all the way in. Sundell, give and go, knocked away by Howell. Time here for USC. Von Olhoffen gives it up. Howell's 3. You bet. That's how the first quarter will end.
She would always play up 2 years on her travel team, so she was going against bigger, stronger female athletes as well, and you see that physicality show up in her game.
No question about it, Ollie. She has been an impressive freshman. Start of the second quarter. Winner of this game plays Connecticut Monday night, 9 Eastern on ESPN in the Elite Eight. Heckel, no. Rebound Walker for Kansas State. Kansas State trying to make the Elite Eight for the first time since 1982 as that three will drop. Von Olaf in. No. Lee, a one-handed rebound, then had it poked away. Look at Heckel diving on the floor. Couldn't quite come up with it. Here's Sundell. Eyes up. Poindexter alone. Connects. Timeout USC. What a start to the second for Kansas State. Yeah, Paige Beckers put up 40 points, had 29 of them in the second half. And Connecticut turned a 4-point halftime deficit into a big win over Oklahoma.
I mean, once the ball came inbounds, and Ray Marshall can typically handle the ball very well out on the perimeter. There was just miscommunication between her and a teammate there.
First turnover of the game for USC, playing this game, of course, without their star, JuJu Watkins. Knee injury. In the second round, Aoka Lee working inside, can't finish it, knocked away by Walker. Kansas State able to come up with it. Another chance here for the Wildcats. Sundell moves inside and gets fouled. Serena Sundell will shoot two. Kennedy Smith. I thought Serena Sundell was really honest with us yesterday, talking about the difficulty in toggling between having Aoka Lee. Gotten better about it as the season went along, but it's such a big adjustment that it's harder to stay in stride. As that's rejected by Poindexter. Shot clock down to 4. Powell gives it up. Von Olaf asked to hoist. And a shot clock violation. Poindexter tosses to Sundell. Sundell trying to work Smith, who has one foul, and Sundell finishes plus the contact.
Passing it back out to teammates, but you saw the beautiful footwork, post-like footwork there.
First in Division I in assists this season at over 7 a game. Helping a 10-0 run here for Kansas State. Powell drains the three. While Kennedy Smith staying on the floor with 2 fouls. Lee can't get anything to drop. The shots have not been particularly close thus far. Iria Finn sinks it to the corner. Nice move to free herself. The three banks in for Samuels. Poindexter gives it up. Sundell can't hit. Rebound on the weak side. Howell with some pace up the floor. That was what Kansas State spent most of their time focusing on practice yesterday, was getting back against USC's transition. Sundell the block, and then at last hits Samuels. Kansas State started the quarter 10-0, a 6-0 response from USC. Taylor bodying in, can't flip it home. Von Olaf it. Heaves it down the floor, intercepted by Sundell. Poindexter alone, connects! Iria Finn has it knocked away by Glenn. Sundell weaving through the paint, gets fouled, and Serena Sundell is going to the stripe. And then the first game, Oklahoma has a halftime lead. First game here in Spokane tonight. 29 points in the second half alone on 12 of 16, shooting a career-high 40. First UConn player with a 40-point game in the tournament, and Connecticut wins. And now awaits the winner here between Kansas State and USC. Two Elite Eight games on ABC tomorrow. The reverse is good. Heckel able to... Sanchez has it deflected. Lee able to save it. And a third straight turnover for Kansas State, after they had 3 in the entire first half prior to these possessions. Area Finn. There it is.
Supposed to clog up the paint. That baseline 10-footer is going to be there for Area Finn.
Number 3 prospect in this upcoming WNBA draft. Lee. There's an answer for her. First buckets of the game. Area Finn. Not that time. Here's Sundell. Sundell bounces out. Lee waits, dishes. Sundell's leaner is good. Smith turning the corner. Can't get the roll. Lee the rebound. 7th rebound for Lee. Many of them contested. Sundell gets rejected but fouled. So Area Finn picks up her first as Sundell sinks the free throw. Sundell hits both. Mitty in the Sweet 16 for the first time in his 3-decade coaching career. Looking to take a lead into half. Heckel behind the back through the lane. Able to scoop it in. What a move from Kaylee Heckel to end the first half. And Area Finn, who had 36 in the second round, held to 2 in that first half. Let's check in with Holly Rowe.
Lindsay Gottlieb just told her team in the huddle, let's get stops and let's fly. This is a team that has played fast all season long. They're not playing fast enough. She wants more energy, more up and down the court, not letting that K-State defense set up in the half court.
Yeah, this certainly has been the pace that Kansas State wants to play. USC is so good when they can get turnovers, when they can push the pace. Of course, JuJu Watkins a huge piece of that because a player who could get the defensive board and push in transition herself.
Lindsay Gottlieb even mentioned that to us when she was studying the tape of Kansas State, realizing right away these would have been opportunities in transition as
Marshall and Area Finn about 10 feet from the basket on the baseline.
Lee, quick turn, gets blocked by Marshall, her third of the day. Von Olofsen down the floor. Smith, who had 11 points in the first, did not score in the second. Navigated some foul trouble in that second as well with 2 personals. Von Olofsen barges in, bounces under. Area Finn flips it out. Marshall again. 2 for 2 to begin the third quarter. And a 2-point USC lead. Winner plays Connecticut in the Elite 8 Monday night. Sundell drives it and hits.
Sundell got the defense in rotation because there was a blitz on the other side with the ball screen, and a nice job attacking the closeout.
Von Olofsen gets one to fall. So there you go, Von Olofsen with the jumper. Was 0 for 3 in the first half. Von Olofsen, who made it to the Elite 8 with Oregon State a year ago and is from Tri-Cities, Washington, about 2 hours away from here. Has a ton of family in attendance as Lee able to serve that in. Von Olofsen bounces in. Area Finn can't get to it. Von Olofsen was all Pac-12 last year with Oregon State. Was a key part of that team that went to the Elite 8 before falling to South Carolina, the eventual national champion. Walker spins and floats it in. Area Finn surrounded by multiple defenders. Now open baseline. Still can't get that jumper to drop. Usually so smooth. She's now 1 of 9. 8 ties, 7 lead changes in this game. Area Finn, the 3rd team All-American this season. Size, a big-time threat from 3, gives it up. Glenn will fire, and it's hit. Jalen Glenn has been huge for this team in limited attempts. And Powell with the answer on the other end. Sides didn't pull, now will. Off the mark in the corner. Marshall flags it down for USC. 2-point Kansas State lead. Smith Couldn't quite finish it through traffic, but drew the whistle. And Kennedy Smith helped lead UConn from a halftime deficit to a comfy victory over Oklahoma in the country next season in Aaliyah Chavez. And then back here, we'll have LSU UCLA in a rematch for you. And that's going the other way as Taylor picks up the foul. That'll be her first.
Intriguing pro prospect for next year. Her ability ultimately to guard that last possession, defending a guard.
We asked her if she had a preference for where she lands in the draft, and she just said God's plan. Wasn't giving us any headlines. Is Area fit? Here's Glenn. A lot of three-point threats on the floor for Kansas State. Walker can't squeeze it in, but a foul. One of the things that Jeff Mitty was talking to us about in regard to Walker was just how she brings, he said, what do the kids call it? A dog mentality? So she brings that. She's one of the younger members of this Kansas State team that has a lot of experience on it. They have 7 seniors, but Walker just a sophomore.
Talk about what a difference maker she can be, both on the defensive and offensive ends.
Missed both free throws there. Heckel gives it up. Knocked away for the moment. Smith able to regain. Tries to shoot. Howell in some trouble. Iriafen for 3. No. Howell. Yes. An 8-0 USC run. Knocked away, and it last hit Sundell. What a play. Clearly tipped off Sundell. 11th turnover. Iriafen again. USC a 5-point lead. Trying to head to the Elite 8 for a rematch with Connecticut. Knocked away. It's Smith again. Smith off to the races. And in. Timeout, Kansas State. 46-39, USC in front of Kansas State. A trip to the Elite 8 on the line here. And a matchup with Connecticut. That will happen on Monday, 9 Eastern on ESPN after Paige Beckers scored 40 in a win against Oklahoma in the first game here tonight in Spokane. Here's Sundell. Stops. Looking for an angle and finding one.
She really is crafty.
Finding her normal stroke from that area. A foul on Lee, her first. Here's Howell. Cross court. Iriafen shovels back. Knocked out of bounds. Last hit Smith. 7 turnovers for USC. 12 for Kansas State. USC playing without JuJu Watkins, tearing her ACL in the second round of this tournament as Heckel comes up with a steal and blurs to the bucket. Sundell trying to work Smith. Sundell gets the foul. Talked to us about when she was deciding who was going to replace JuJu Watkins in the starting lineup. She debated having Heckel enter the starting lineup, but she has liked the way she's brought this speed and defensive tenacity. Instead decided to go with Avery Howell, who's starting just her second game of the season. Iriafen, 2-for-1 opportunity if they hurry. Akunwafo couldn't finish. Trying to get it back. Last hit hurt. Then LSU takes on UCLA. You ready for the quick turnaround?
I cannot wait.
LSU UCLA was a terrific Sweet 16 matchup last year. This time meeting in the Elite 8.
A game where UCLA went really cold from 3 in the second half.
Sundell fights off some contact, little hesitation, and then gets hit from behind. First half at team best, plus minus at +7. And hits again. 9.1 seconds remaining in this third. She shot 11 of the team's 13 free throws. Iriafen, 6 seconds left in the quarter. Heckel with 3. Heckel leans in, can't finish, and that will do it for the third.
But 15 to 17 footers for Kiki Iriafen could decide this game in the fourth.
48-45. USC leads Kansas State. A trip to the Elite Eight on the line. Here we go, fourth quarter. USC navigating without JuJu Watkins. As Walker can't finish, Lee can. Aoka Lee with her 9th rebound of the game. Von Olhoffen. No. And Walker, the rebound. Here's Glenn. Sundell. Neither team is led by more than 7 at any point in this game. Sundell dives in. Can't finish.
Sundell had the switch of Marshall out on her, so Kansas State cleared that side of the floor.
Howell, another three. 14 points for Avery Howell and her 4th three of the game.
She is accustomed to bigger moments.
Lee draws the double. Walker looking to get around Howell, elevating and dropping it in. This season, specifically with how she has been able to hang with guards. Howell, not that time. .7:20 to go in the fourth. Kennedy Smith eyeing Sundell all the way up the floor. Sundell held the foot, dumps it in, and Lee ties the game. 51 all. Rhea Marshall felt there should have been a travel. 10-3 run from Kansas State. Marshall banks it in. Flips it back out to Sundell. Sundell has 18 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Poindexter in and out. Here's Heckel. It's 6:30 to go in the fourth. And USC leading by 2. Pass kind of split the difference. Howell ends up free. Howell. No. Marshall.
They just simplify.
Yeah.
Post up and throw it to the guard.
Sundell simplify it there too. And Lee floats it in.
She's a very good shot blocker. In particular, offensively, Jeff Mitty talks about gravity. And when she gets touches and the double teams that she draws, it just makes things so much more open for her shooters on the perimeter.
Here's Howell. Gets the handoff. Howell scoops it in. Avery Sundell and Lee. A little 2-player action. Sundell now stuck. Poindexter, 10 to shoot. Sundell, 5 to shoot. Walker eyes the clock. Walker with 2 to shoot. Elevates and hits.
There's that dog mentality.
2-point game again. Iriafen surrounded. And it's going to be a held ball. Possession arrow stays with USC. Heckel bounces in. Oh, nice move. And Smith lays it home. Poindexter turns the corner and finds Lee. Kansas State trying to head to the Elite Eight for the first time since 1982. USC trying to get back there. Howell in and out. Iriafen gets hit from behind, and free throws coming for Kiki Iriafen. Currently has 6. Misses that free throw. Projected number 3 pick in this year's WNBA draft. Hits the second. Into the arms of trusty Sundell. Sundell backing in and lays it home. It is a 1-point game.
Kennedy Smith and Kiki Iriafen in some kind of a 2-man game, but
and Heckel loses the dribble for a moment. Neither team is led by more than 4 at any point in this fourth quarter. Here's Smith. Smith turns the corner and gets the whistle. Just the 7th and 8th attempts of the game for USC, and a big one there for Kennedy Smith. I think Jeff Mitty had a case.
Yeah.
And Smith hits both.
Her anticipation so well. I mean, she's just trying to, she's right up in Serena Sundell right now before she even catches the ball.
I'll tell you what, I want to eat at her brother Jordan's restaurant the way she's playing. Cascadia Public House, we're coming. Lives here in Spokane. And there's Smith again. Off the steal, Kennedy Smith nearly reverses it in.
What's been impressive to me, watching it right in front of us this entire second half, is she's been guarding Serena Sundell. And as Sundell's bringing the ball off the floor, Kennedy Smith is just staring in her eyes.
Yeah, it's got to be a little distracting to Serena Sundell.
Disconcerting.
7 points. It's been great defensively, but it's been Howell and it's been Kennedy Smith on the offensive end. Meanwhile, here's Kansas State now with just one timeout remaining.
Got the switch they wanted for Sundell on the post.
Can she take the freshman heckle? She can. There you go. 2-point game. 22 for Sundell. One minute remaining in the fourth. Sundell went for the steal. Here's Smith. Smith driving and has it taken away. Sundell has it with Kansas State down 2. Dangerous pass. Poindexter. No. Erie offend the rebound. Now Kansas State can still play defense here straight up. There's enough of a differential game and shot clock. Kansas State's looking at the bench. Why are you going to foul?
You know, Jeff Mitty was yelling, don't foul, don't foul.
And Poindexter looking towards his coach. And just a critical mistake. Over 80% on the season. She's got both. It's a 2-possession lead. And a whistle here as Iriafen and Lee hit the deck. And they didn't call the foul. Violet, to me, that looks like a play on. What are you seeing there?
Ryan, that's a tough play to have a play on. It actually looks like 50 from K-State is actually holding. And then they both stumble to the ground. You got to have something on the play.
Okay. So you think it's the right call?
That is correct.
All right. Thank you, Violet. Kiki misses both free throws. Kansas State will use its final timeout. They're just 5 for 15 tonight, but amongst the nation's best. Sundell on the move, fading, can't hit. Lee the rebound, out to Glenn. 18 seconds to go. Sides looking for space. Can't find it. The runner is off. Loose ball. Heckle has it. So does USC. 8 seconds to go. And the Trojans on the brink. Heckle sinks the free throw. Hits the next. 8 seconds remaining. USC by 6. Glenn Hoyce, and that will do it. USC is still alive. Headed back to the Elite Eight for a rematch with Connecticut.